All right, we're happy to have in studio with us James Moore, who was a winner yet again in his riding in the Tri-Cities. Congratulations.
Thank you, and I know you live in the Tri-Cities, so whether you voted for me or didn't, I will do my best to serve you as your member of Parliament.
I actually moved to Pitt Meadows, so unfortunately I'm out of your riding. But you did win our riding too. The Conservatives did. So what went well for you guys last night? What was right?
I think the messaging that we had consistently across the message that we want to have a steady, stable majority parliament to focus on the economy and get things done. I think Canadians liked that, and they saw that, and they saw that we were sincere about that. This was an election that we didn't want, by the way. We didn't want this campaign to happen. We wanted Parliament to continue as it was. We can pass our budget and keep moving forward. The Liberals called the election. They weren't prepared for it, and we saw the results last night. And I think Canadians have given us and entrusted us with a mandate to keep focusing on the economy, and we're honoured and humbled by that mandate, and we will do our best to make sure that all Canadians feel included in this government that is national in scope and in a majority government that we're very proud of.
NDP, for the first time, will form the official opposition. How does that change the dynamic in the House?
Well, I think the dynamic of not having one political party whose sole obsession are the interests of one province in a way that's destructive to the future of the country is a great development for the country. The Bloc Québécois for years have just been, frankly, a disruptive and destructive force. It's not only in the House of Commons and in question period, which is the most high-profile element of Parliament that everybody sees, but on the committee level and everything else. So the fact that they've been reduced now to a couple of seats is fantastic. The NDP, I think, are going to have, an interesting dynamic of trying to welcome these new MPs, who none of whom actually expected to be MPs into Parliament. But I think overall it's very good. We have two national choices now: the Conservatives, not the Liberals, and the NDP. And I think that it'll mean for good, healthy debates in Parliament, and I think it'll serve the country well.
Now, tell us a little bit about what it was like working in a minority government, and how do people sort of keep tabs on the government when you have a majority? Because you can pass whatever you want now. You have enough votes to do whatever you want. So how does everyone keep tabs on what you're doing in government now? Well,
the difference between a majority and a minority parliaments can work well and can do good things. The problem has been, and this is the first majority parliament Canadians have elected in 10.5 years. Mm-hmm. Minority parliaments can do well because it forces compromise, it forces you, but over time that compromise tends to look unprincipled. The compromise also tends to look as though you're compromising to avoid an election, or because you're trying to force an election. And so it's not just that minority parliaments are unstable and you have an election every year and a half or 2 years, but there's a threat of an election every 2 or 3 months. And so that instability leads to short-term thinking, not long-term planning, which is what the country needs. In a majority parliament, how do things change? Well, obviously, the opposition still has all the tools and the ability to do things. And the thing that's good about this, I think, is that it's an NDP opposition with a lot of seats. Mm-hmm. So, they can spread the work out and they can have a healthy representation on all the committees. Not like, us when we were the official opposition, we had 66 seats. Right. It's challenging that way with the workload, and so
the NDP doesn't rely on someone else to help them get votes or anything like that. They have enough votes on their own to sort of make an impact.
Exactly, and I think that'll be a helpful dynamic for sure. And the Liberal Party will obviously be going through a reconstruction phase, and the Bloc Québécois, who knows what the future of that party is. So as I said, the debates will become a very clear, focused debate between two national parties now.
You were talking to us in the break about how I think you said 1 in 3 seats changed hands last night.
308 seats in the House of Commons. One out of 3 MPs or party seats changed hands last night. So that's nothing. This is the biggest watershed campaign I think I've seen since 1993.
And yet we went into this campaign, a lot of people saying that it wouldn't change anything. So what was the turning point?
Well, a lot of people going into the campaign who claim to be experts or on a lot of television stations are not experts. Like political campaigns, they can bob and weave and switch very quickly. It happens all the time. It happens very frequently, provincially, municipally, and certainly can happen federally. And that's what we saw here. The first 2 weeks of the campaign, I think a lot of the public, certainly out here in the West, were kind of surprised to see, I don't want an election. I don't actually kind of believe that it's happened. Mm-hmm. Then the NHL playoffs and the Canucks and the Royal Wedding and Easter and Passover. And in the final 2 weeks, I think the public just sort of broke and they made up their mind and they said, I don't want any more of these constant campaigns. I don't want a threat of an election constantly. I think a steady, stable majority parliament is good. Right. Stephen Harper earned and reaffirmed his trust with Canadians to earn a majority government. And I think the results will be good for Canada.
We appreciate you coming in. Just one last quick question, yes or no. Are you expecting a cabinet position?
That's up to Prime Minister Harper. And my first responsibility is to clean up all my signs that are all over my riding. And every candidate out there, commit, whether you won or lost, clean up those signs, give the streets back to the public, and let's get back to giving the people a good, healthy government.
All right, James, thanks very much.
Thank you.